Once upon a time, in the heart of Okata village in Nigeria, there lived a woman named Awele, whose tongue was sharper than a blade. Awele was notorious for her inability to keep secrets or resist the urge to gossip. From sunrise to sunset, she dissected people's lives with her words, leaving no stone unturned and no person unscathed. The entire village knew her as the town crier without a drum, and while her chatter sometimes amused people, it often caused trouble. One fateful morning, Awele set out for her farm before the first cock crowed. The mist hung low over the village paths as she worked, humming a tune. As she neared a secluded part of the forest, she suddenly heard a strange sound, a mix of crying and murmuring. Her heart skipped a beat, but her curiosity, as always, got the better of her. She followed the sound and, to her utter disbelief, found a severed human head lying on the ground. The head was crying and muttering words that sent chills down her spine. Despite her fear, Awele's curiosity overpowered her instincts to run. She cautiously approached the head and, as soon as she got close, the crying stopped. Awele, unable to resist speaking, asked, "I thought you were crying. What is the matter?" The head replied in a deep, sorrowful voice, "I cry for vengeance. Let no one disturb me until the unseen avenges me. But as you leave this place, keep your mouth shut. Tell no one what you have seen, or there will be grave consequences." Awele nodded nervously and hurried away. But by the time she got back to the village, the weight of what she had seen was too much for her to bear. She dropped her farm tools, her pulse racing, and immediately began going from house to house, telling anyone who would listen about the crying head in the forest. Her animated retelling drew gasps and murmurs from everyone. Word spread like wildfire, and soon, a crowd gathered in the village square. Awele was taken to the king, the village's traditional ruler, to recount her story. The king listened intently and asked, "Awele, are you certain about this? If what you say is untrue, the consequences will be dire." Without hesitation, Awele swore on her life that she was telling the truth. The king, elders, and villagers decided to follow her to the forest to witness the strange phenomenon. However, the king warned her sternly, "If we get there and this head does not speak, you will face the ultimate punishment for deceiving the entire village." Even her husband, who had always stood by her despite her incessant gossiping, begged her to reconsider. But Awele was adamant. She confidently led the crowd to the spot where she had seen the head. When they arrived, the head was still there, lying motionless. The villagers gasped in shock. They gathered around and waited for it to cry or speak as Awele had claimed. But the head remained silent. The king stepped forward and addressed the head. "If you can hear us, speak now, or forever hold your peace." The head did not respond. The villagers tried everything, pleading, chanting, even performing traditional rites. But the head refused to utter a single word. Awele grew desperate. She begged them to wait longer, swearing that it had spoken to her earlier. 2 hours passed, and still, the head did not speak. The villagers grew restless and angry. The king, his patience exhausted, declared that Awele had deceived them and caused unnecessary panic. As punishment, she would be stoned to death. Awele cried and pleaded for mercy, but the villagers were resolute. They gathered stones and began pelting her. Her screams echoed through the forest until she fell silent, lifeless on the ground. Just as the last stone was thrown, the severed head suddenly came to life. It let out a sinister laugh and shouted, "Una well done, oh. Now my vengeance is complete." The villagers froze in terror. The head's voice boomed. I warned her to keep silent, but she could not control her tongue. Let this be a lesson to all who speak without wisdom. The villagers fled the forest in fear, leaving the head and Awele's lifeless body behind. From that day on, the people of Okata village spoke of Awele as a cautionary tale, warning others about the dangers of gossip and a reckless tongue. Moral lesson: loose lips can lead to destruction. Always think before you speak. Your words, once spoken, cannot be taken back. There is wisdom in knowing when to stay silent.